The gunshot that echoed across the Montana prairie was not meant for Naomi Sutton, but it might as well have been a death sentence. Her horse spooked, throwing her from the saddle as a massive pine tree, weakened by lightning and disease, chose that precise moment to surrender to gravity. Samuel Granger heard the scream cut through the crisp autumn air of 1878 as he tracked a wounded deer through the foothills outside Columbus. The seasoned cowboy abandoned his hunt without hesitation, spurring his faithful chestnut gelding, Rusty, toward the sound of distress. "Hello," he called out, scanning the golden-hued landscape. "Anyone there?" A feeble voice answered, "Here. Please help." Samuel dismounted swiftly when he spotted her, a young woman with honey-brown hair pinned messily beneath a formidable pine trunk. The tree had her trapped from the waist down, though mercifully it was partially suspended by a rock formation, preventing it from crushing her entirely. "Don't move, miss," he instructed, removing his hat as he knelt beside her. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead, and her face was pale with shock and pain. "I'm Samuel Granger. What's your name?" Naomi Sutton," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Her green eyes, bright with unshed tears, assessed him cautiously. "I was heading to Columbus when someone was hunting. The shot scared my horse." Samuel nodded, already calculating how to free her. "Miss Sutton, that tree's too heavy for me to lift alone. I need to get help, but I won't leave you here suffering." He retrieved a canteen from his saddlebag and carefully helped her drink. "I'm going to make you as comfortable as possible, then ride to town. It's not far, 20 minutes at a gallop." As he arranged his bedroll beneath her head and covered her with his coat, Naomi grasped his wrist with surprising strength. "My horse, my belongings, all I have left." "I'll find them," he promised, struck by the desperation in her voice. "But first, let's get you out from under this tree." Samuel rode hard to Columbus, gathering a rescue party of 6 men with axes, ropes, and a wagon. When they returned, Naomi was unconscious, her breathing shallow. The men worked methodically, securing ropes to pull the tree while Samuel positioned himself to slide her free the moment they created enough space. "Ready," called Joseph Miller, the town's blacksmith. "Heave." The massive pine shifted just enough. Samuel pulled Naomi clear as the others strained against the ropes. Her legs were badly bruised, but by some miracle not crushed or broken. "She needs Doc Harper," Samuel said, lifting her carefully into the wagon. "And someone find her horse. Lady said it was all she had left." The next 3 days passed in a blur of concern as Samuel divided his time between his duties at the Thompson Cattle Ranch and visiting Naomi at Doc Harper's infirmary. On the 4th morning, he entered to find her awake and alert, propped against pillows and arguing with the doctor. "Miss Sutton, you need at least another week of rest," the white-haired physician insisted. "I can't afford another week, doctor. I've imposed enough." Her eyes found Samuel in the doorway, and something flickered across her face, relief, perhaps, or recognition. "Mr. Granger," she acknowledged. "I understand I owe you my life." Samuel shuffled awkwardly, hat in hand. "Just happened to be in the right place. How are you feeling?" "Better than I deserve to, according to the doctor. No broken bones, just bruising and a concussion." She hesitated. "Did anyone find my horse?" "A bay mare with a white blaze," Samuel nodded. "Found her about 2 miles from where you fell. Your belongings are safe at the boarding house. Mrs. Peterson is keeping a room for you." The tension in Naomi's shoulders eased slightly, but concern still lined her face. "I appreciate the kindness, but I can't afford. It's taken care of," Samuel interrupted. "The town pulls together when folks need help." Doc Harper excused himself to check on another patient, leaving them alone. Samuel noticed how Naomi clutched the bedsheet, knuckles white with strain. "Miss Sutton," he began cautiously, If you don't mind my asking, what brings you to Columbus? You mentioned your belongings were all you had left. Naomi studied him, as if weighing his trustworthiness. My father died 3 months ago. The bank foreclosed on our farm in Minnesota. I have an aunt who once lived near here, but she swallowed hard. I arrived to find she passed away last winter. I was trying to figure out my next move when that tree decided my fate for me. Samuel absorbed her story, recognizing the proud determination beneath her vulnerability. Well, Columbus might not look like much, but it's a good community. People help each other here. I'm not looking for charity, Mr. Granger. Samuel, he corrected. And it's not charity to accept help when you need it. The Petersons are good people. Ellen Peterson is looking for someone to help with the books at their general store. She mentioned it yesterday when I picked up your things. A week later, Naomi had moved into a small room above the Peterson store and begun working part-time while she recovered. Samuel made a habit of stopping by whenever he came to town for supplies, initially to check on her recovery, then simply to enjoy her company. On a crisp October afternoon, Samuel found Naomi behind the counter, recording inventory in a leather-bound ledger. Her hair was neatly pinned and color had returned to her cheeks. "Afternoon, Miss Sutton," he greeted, setting his packages on the counter. "You're looking well." "Mr. Granger," she responded with a small smile. "The usual supplies for the ranch and something extra." He placed a small parcel wrapped in brown paper before her. "Mrs. Thompson sent preserves, says you're too thin." Naomi's cheeks flushed. "That's very kind. Please thank her for me." As Samuel gathered his purchases, he hesitated. "There's a social at the church Saturday evening. Music, dancing, good food. Thought you might like to come, meet more folks from around here." Naomi's pen stilled. Are you asking to escort me, Mr. Granger, Samuel?" he reminded her. "And yes, I reckon I am." The Saturday social proved to be a turning point. Samuel arrived at the store promptly at 6, hat in hand, wearing his best shirt. Naomi descended the stairs in a simple blue dress that brought out the green in her eyes, her hair arranged in soft waves around her face. "You look beautiful," Samuel said, the words escaping before he could temper them with something more proper. "Thank you," she replied softly. "It's been a while since I've had occasion to wear anything but work clothes." The church hall was festooned with autumn decorations, lanterns casting a warm glow over the gathering. Samuel introduced Naomi to what seemed like half the county, proudly watching as she charmed everyone from the mayor's wife to old Jim Hayes, who ran the livery stable. When the fiddle struck up a lively tune, Samuel extended his hand. "May I have this dance, Miss Sutton?" Naomi hesitated. "I should warn you, my dancing skills are rusty at best." "That makes two of us," he grinned. They moved together awkwardly at first, but soon found their rhythm. During a slower number, Samuel gathered his courage. "How are you finding Columbus? Think you might stay a while?" "It's growing on me," she admitted. "The Petersons have been wonderful and the work is steady, but, he prompted when she fell silent. "I've always dreamed of having my own place again. After losing the farm, Her voice caught. "Land ownership means freedom to me. No one can tell you to leave or take it away if it's truly yours." Samuel nodded thoughtfully. "I understand that feeling. Been saving for my own spread these past 5 years." As the evening progressed, Samuel found himself captivated by Naomi's quiet strength and the grace with which she'd faced her hardships. Walking her back to the boarding house, he lingered at the door. "I had a fine time," he said. "So did I." Naomi glanced up at him, moonlight silvering her features. "Thank you for convincing me to come." On impulse, Samuel reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Good night, Naomi." "Good night, Samuel." The weeks that followed saw a quiet courtship blossom. Samuel found reasons to visit town more frequently, and Naomi always seemed to have time for a conversation or a walk after her duties were complete. They shared stories of their pasts, Samuel's journeys as a ranch hand across 3 states, Naomi's childhood on the Minnesota farm, and her dreams of teaching school someday. Their growing attachment didn't go unnoticed in the small community. Ellen Peterson gave Naomi knowing smiles whenever Samuel appeared at the store, and the hands at Thompson Ranch ribbed Samuel mercilessly about his sudden interest in town affairs. As November's chills settled over the Montana territory, Samuel invited Naomi to ride out to a spot he'd discovered, a small plateau overlooking the valley where Columbus nestled against the mountains. Despite the cold, the view was spectacular, golden grasses waving beneath a vast blue sky. "It's beautiful," Naomi breathed, drawing her coat tighter. Samuel watched her face rather than the view. "I come here to think sometimes, to dream about the future." She turned to him, curiosity in her expression. "And what do you see in that future, Samuel Granger?" "More than I used to," he admitted. "I always saw land, cattle, a place of my own. Now I see." He hesitated, unaccustomed to revealing his heart. "I see the possibility of sharing it." Naomi's eyes widened slightly. "Samuel, I'm not proposing, not yet," he clarified hurriedly. "That wouldn't be proper, us knowing each other such a short time. But I wanted you to know my intentions are honorable, and if you'd allow it, I'd like to continue calling on you." A smile bloomed across her face, genuine and warm. "I'd like that very much." Their courtship deepened through the winter months. Samuel helped Naomi locate her aunt's grave in the town cemetery and stood beside her as she said her goodbyes. Naomi nursed Samuel back to health when he caught pneumonia after a cattle drive in a December blizzard. Each challenge they faced together strengthened the bond between them. By spring of 1879, Samuel had saved enough to make an offer on a promising parcel of land, 180 acres with good water access, 15 miles outside Columbus. Before finalizing the purchase, he rode to town with a specific purpose in mind. Naomi was helping a customer when he entered the store, her capable hands wrapping parcels of sugar and coffee. When the customer departed, Samuel approached the counter, more nervous than he'd been facing down a stampeding steer. "Samuel, I wasn't expecting you until Saturday," she greeted him warmly. "This couldn't wait," he said, removing his hat. "Naomi, I've made an offer on the Dawson property." Her face lit up. "That's wonderful news. It's perfect land. The creek alone is worth the asking price." "There's something else." Samuel reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small box. "I've been carrying this around for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment." He opened it to reveal a simple gold ring with a small pearl. "It was my mother's. She said to give it to the woman who made me want to be a better man." Naomi's hand flew to her mouth. "Naomi Sutton, these past months have shown me what it means to truly care for someone. You've become my strength when I doubted myself, and I hope I've offered some comfort in return. Would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife?" Tears welled in her eyes as she extended her trembling hand. "Yes, Samuel. Yes, I will." The news of their engagement spread quickly through Columbus. Ellen Peterson immediately began planning a celebration, while Joseph Miller offered to help Samuel build furniture for their new home. The women of the church quilting circle presented Naomi with a wedding quilt they'd secretly been working on for months. "They knew before we did," Naomi laughed as they examined the intricate pattern. "Small towns," Samuel shrugged, "can't keep a secret to save your life." They married on a perfect June day beneath an arch of wildflowers in the town square. Naomi wore a cream-colored dress with lace Ellen Peterson had ordered specially from back east. Samuel could scarcely believe his good fortune as he watched his bride approach, her face radiant with joy. The ceremony was simple but heartfelt, with Reverend Donovan speaking of partnership and devotion. When Samuel slid his mother's ring onto Naomi's finger and spoke his vows, his voice was steady with certainty. "I promise to be your shelter and your freedom, your partner and your friend, for all the days we're granted together." Naomi's vows, spoken clearly despite her emotion, touched something deep in Samuel's soul. "I promise to be your strength when the path is difficult, your companion in joy, and your home wherever we may roam." Their first weeks as husband and wife were divided between the Thompson Ranch, where Samuel fulfilled his final obligations, and their new property, where they worked from dawn until dusk preparing for their future. They cleared land for fields, repaired the small existing cabin, and planned for the larger home they would build when resources allowed. Naomi proved to be as hardworking on the land as she had been in the store, learning quickly and never shying away from difficult tasks. Samuel found himself admiring her determination as she mastered skills from fence mending to animal husbandry. "Where did you learn to set a post like that?" he asked one evening as they completed a section of corral fencing. "Watching you," she replied simply. "I've always been a quick study." Their evenings were spent in sweet companionship, planning their future by lamplight. Naomi sketched designs for their permanent home while Samuel calculated what crops would best suit their land. They decided on a mixed operation cattle for steady income, supplemented by wheat and vegetables that Naomi could sell at market in Columbus. "We'll start small," Samuel reasoned, "but in 5 years we could triple our herd if the grazing holds." "And add an orchard on the south slope," Naomi added. "Apple trees would do well there." By late summer, they had established enough of a foothold to begin their true ranching operation. With his savings, Samuel purchased 30 head of cattle and 2 good breeding bulls. Naomi had transformed their modest cabin into a comfortable home, adding curtains sewn from flour sacks and furniture Samuel built in the evenings. Their first significant challenge came in August, when a band of rustlers targeted several ranches in the area. Samuel joined a group of neighboring ranchers to patrol their boundaries, often staying out overnight. During one such patrol, shots were fired, and Samuel returned home with a bullet graze across his shoulder. "It's nothing," he insisted as Naomi cleaned the wound. "Barely caught me." "It could have been your heart," she countered, her hands steady despite her fear. "These rustlers aren't worth dying over." "Our livelihood is worth protecting," Samuel argued gently. "Without these cattle, we have nothing." Naomi's eyes flashed. "We have each other, we have this land." "We can rebuild a herd, but I can't replace you, Samuel Granger." Her words humbled him. In his determination to protect what they were building, he'd underestimated how deeply she valued him beyond his role as provider. "You're right," he conceded. "I'll be more careful." Sheriff Taylor is organizing a proper posse, no more of these informal patrols. True to his word, Samuel joined the official effort led by the sheriff. Within 2 weeks, they had tracked the rustlers to their hideout and, with minimal bloodshed, apprehended the thieves and recovered most of the stolen cattle. When Samuel returned home, Naomi was waiting on the porch, her face lighting up at the sight of him whole and unharmed. He swung down from his horse and gathered her in his arms, savoring her warmth and the scent of soap and baking bread that always clung to her. "I kept my promise," he murmured against her hair. "Came back without a scratch this time." That night, as they lay entwined in their narrow bed, Samuel realized how completely his life had transformed in less than a year. From solitary cowboy to husband and rancher, He had found purpose beyond his daily work. He had found a partner who challenged him to be better, to look beyond the next horizon. As autumn painted the landscape in russet and gold, their small ranch flourished. The cattle grew fat on summer grass, and their garden yielded enough to preserve for winter. Samuel and Naomi established a routine of shared labor, each taking responsibility for different aspects of their operation while supporting the other's efforts. Their happiness seemed complete when, in early October, Naomi shared news that changed everything. "Samuel," she said one evening as they sat before the fire, her hand resting lightly on her abdomen, "I believe we'll need to add another room to those house plans come spring." It took a moment for her meaning to register, but when it did, Samuel's face transformed with wonder. "A baby, you're certain?" Naomi nodded, her eyes shining. "As certain as I can be. Dr. Harper confirmed it yesterday when I was in town." Samuel moved to kneel before her chair, placing his hand gently over hers. "I never thought. That is, I hoped someday, but so soon." "Are you pleased?" she asked, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. "Pleased doesn't begin to describe it," he assured her, pressing his lips to her fingers. "I'm overjoyed, Naomi." Terrified but overjoyed. The prospect of fatherhood intensified Samuel's drive to secure their future. With winter approaching, he worked tirelessly to ensure their home was weatherproof, their supplies ample, and their livestock protected. Naomi matched his efforts, preserving food and preparing for the months when travel to town would be difficult. The winter of 1879-1880 proved to be one of the harshest in memory. Snow piled high around their cabin, and temperatures plummeted to bitter lows that threatened livestock and people alike. Samuel spent many nights in the barn, tending to calving cows and ensuring their precious animals survived. Despite the challenges, the isolated months brought Samuel and Naomi closer. In the evenings, they read aloud from the small collection of books they owned, discussed names for their child, and planned expansions to their ranch. Naomi taught Samuel to play checkers, laughing at his competitive nature, while he showed her how to carve simple wooden toys for the baby. Their peaceful routine was interrupted in January by an unexpected visitor. Samuel was checking fence lines when he spotted a figure on horseback struggling through a snowdrift. He rode to intercept the traveler, discovering a half-frozen mail carrier with an urgent message. "Mr. Granger." The young man stammered through blue lips. "Got a telegram from Columbus. They've been trying to get it to you for days." Samuel's heart sank as he took the paper. Telegrams rarely brought good news. He scanned the brief message, then urged the carrier to follow him home where he could warm up before continuing his route. Naomi met them at the door, her concern evident as she helped the young man inside and set water to boil for coffee. Only when their visitor was settled by the fire did she turn questioning eyes to Samuel. He led her to the kitchen, speaking quietly. "It's from Ellen Peterson. There's been a fire at the store. Patrick was badly burned trying to save their stock. She's asking if you might come help while he recovers." Without hesitation, Naomi nodded. "Of course we must go. The Petersons gave me a chance when I had nothing. We leave at first light." "We?" Samuel questioned. "Naomi, in your condition, traveling 15 miles in this weather isn't wise." Her hand rested protectively over the swell of her belly, now visible beneath her woolen dress. "I'm carrying a child, not suffering an affliction. The Petersons need help. I won't sit here in comfort while they struggle." Samuel recognized the determination in her eyes and knew further argument was futile. "We'll take the sled, bundle you in every blanket we own. If the weather worsens, we turn back immediately." The journey to Columbus proved arduous but manageable. Samuel's team of draft horses pulled the sled steadily through the snow-packed trail, while he maintained vigilant watch for signs of Naomi's discomfort. To his relief, she remained strong throughout, her resolve never wavering. Columbus presented a somber scene. The general store's upper floor was charred and partially collapsed, though the main level had been spared the worst damage. The Petersons had moved into rooms above the bank while repairs commenced. Ellen Peterson wept with gratitude when they arrived. "Bless you both for coming. Patrick's at Doc Harper's. His hands and arms are badly burned. The store. We've lost so much inventory and the books are in disarray." "That's why we're here," Naomi assured her former employer. "Samuel can help with repairs while I sort out the accounts." The next 2 weeks saw Samuel dividing his time between checking on their ranch and helping rebuild the damaged store. Several townsmen joined the effort, raising new beams and replacing the fire-damaged roof. Naomi, meanwhile, worked methodically through smoke-damaged ledgers, reconstructing the Petersons' financial records and organizing what inventory remained. Patrick Peterson's condition improved gradually under Dr. Harper's care, though it became clear he would have limited use of his right hand due to the severity of his burns. This news devastated the older man, who feared for his family's future. "How can I run a store when I can't even write properly?" he lamented when Samuel visited his sick room. "You'll adapt," Samuel assured him, "and you have Ellen and the whole town behind you." Naomi's organizational skills proved invaluable during this crisis. She implemented a new inventory system that required less writing, trained the Petersons' teenage son to manage basic bookkeeping, and identified which suppliers might extend credit to help them rebuild their stock. Ellen marveled at her efficiency. "You've a head for business, Naomi." "I always knew it, but you've surpassed even my expectations." "I've simply applied what you taught me," Naomi demurred. As February turned to March and the snow began its slow retreat, the Petersons' store was ready to reopen with Patrick supervising operations from a specially constructed chair behind the counter. The couple's gratitude was effusive as Samuel and Naomi prepared to return to their ranch. "We can never repay what you've done," Ellen said, embracing Naomi carefully, mindful of her advancing pregnancy. "There's nothing to repay," Samuel replied. "It's what neighbors do." The journey home was easier with improved weather, though Samuel insisted on frequent stops to ensure Naomi's comfort. They arrived to find their ranch intact, the remaining cattle healthy under the care of young Tom Fletcher, whom Samuel had hired to check on things during their absence. "Everything's as you left it, Mr. Granger," the boy reported proudly. "Even chased off some coyotes that were sniffing around the chicken coop." As spring unfurled across the land, new life emerged everywhere. Calves frolicked in greening pastures, wildflowers carpeted the hillsides, and Naomi's belly grew rounder with their child. Samuel expanded their garden, built a proper chicken coop, and began construction on a permanent home to replace their small cabin. "It won't be finished before the baby comes," he apologized one evening as they surveyed the foundation he'd laid. "But by harvest, we'll have a proper home." Naomi squeezed his hand. "This cabin has served us well. Our child will be loved, whether in a mansion or a tent." Samuel marveled at her practical optimism, the same quality that had sustained her through losing her family farm, surviving the fallen tree, and building a new life in Montana territory. That strength would soon be tested again. In early May, while Samuel was repairing a distant section of fence, Naomi felt the first pains of labor. Too far from town to fetch the doctor, and with Samuel beyond calling distance, she faced the reality of her situation with characteristic resolve. She prepared the cabin as best she could, heating water and arranging clean linens before the contractions intensified. Samuel returned at dusk to find her laboring alone, her face pale but determined. "The baby's coming," she managed between carefully controlled breaths. "Too fast to reach town." Fighting his panic, Samuel sent young Tom Fletcher galloping for the doctor while he did what he could to comfort Naomi. Her labor progressed rapidly, her strength astonishing him even as he feared for her safety. "Tell me what to do," he pleaded, feeling helpless as her pain increased. Naomi guided him through simple preparations, drawing on knowledge gleaned from helping at other births. "Women have been doing this since the beginning of time," she reminded him through gritted teeth. "We'll manage." Their son arrived before the doctor, a robust boy with a healthy cry and his father's determined chin. Samuel caught him in trembling hands, following Naomi's instructions to clear his mouth and wrap him warmly. When he placed the infant on Naomi's chest, the look of wonder and love on her exhausted face etched itself permanently in his memory. "He's perfect," Samuel whispered, stroking the downy head, "just like his mother." When Dr. Harper finally arrived, he found a scene of domestic tranquility rather than emergency. Mother and child resting comfortably, while the new father hovered protectively nearby. "Well now," the doctor chuckled after examining both patients, "seems you didn't need me after all. You've got yourself a fine boy there, and Mrs. Granger shows every sign of quick recovery." They named him William Thomas Granger after both their fathers, though Samuel took to calling him Will almost immediately. The baby thrived under their attentive care, growing stronger daily as spring blossomed into summer. News of Will's birth brought visitors from Columbus and neighboring ranches, each arriving with gifts and advice for the new parents. Ellen Peterson brought a handmade christening gown, while Joseph Miller presented a meticulously crafted cradle. "Community's important out here," the blacksmith noted as Samuel admired his handiwork. "Children especially, they're our future." Samuel found fatherhood transformed him in unexpected ways. The fearlessness that had served him well as a cowboy gave way to a new caution born of responsibility. Every decision now considered not just Naomi but their son, this small person who depended entirely upon them. Naomi recovered quickly from the birth, resuming her share of ranch duties with Will securely bundled against her chest or napping nearby. She seemed to draw new energy from motherhood, tackling challenges with renewed purpose. "You're amazing," Samuel told her one evening as she nursed Will after completing a full day's work in the garden. "Most women would be overwhelmed." "I have something worth working for," she replied simply. "This land, this family, it's everything I thought was lost to me." By midsummer, their new house was taking shape, a sturdy two-story structure with room for their family to grow. Samuel hired 2 men from town to help with the framing, working alongside them from dawn until dusk to speed the construction. Naomi contributed to the design, insisting on large windows to capture light and views of the surrounding landscape. "I want to see our land from every room," she explained, "to remember what we've built together." Their first anniversary passed with a quiet celebration, a moment of reflection amidst their busy lives. Samuel presented Naomi with a silver locket containing a lock of Will's dark hair. She gave him a new leather-bound journal, the first page inscribed with their wedding date and Will's birth. "For recording our history," she explained, "so Will and his brothers or sisters will know how it all began." The mention of future children brought a smile to Samuel's face. "You want more then?" "A houseful," she confirmed, "but perhaps we should finish this one first." As harvest approached, Samuel and Naomi faced the challenge of managing their expanding operation. Their cattle herd had grown through careful breeding, The garden produced abundant vegetables for market, and Samuel had cultivated 20 acres of wheat that now stood golden and ready. The solution came unexpectedly when a wagon carrying a family of 4 broke down near their property. The Hendersons, John, Mary, and their teenage children Emma and Daniel had been traveling west seeking opportunity after losing their Tennessee farm to debt. Samuel offered them temporary lodging in the old cabin while he helped repair their wagon. Over meals shared between the families, he learned John Henderson had experience with cattle and farming, while Mary was skilled at dairy production. "We were hoping to find work near Sacramento," John explained, "but we're running short on funds to complete the journey." Samuel and Naomi exchanged a glance of silent communication before Samuel cleared his throat. "We've been considering hiring help. The ranch is growing faster than we can manage alone, especially with young Will demanding attention." The arrangement they negotiated benefited both families. The Hendersons would work the ranch for wages plus a small share of profits, living in the cabin rent-free. In return, Samuel could focus on expanding their operation while Naomi divided her time between ranch management and caring for Will. With the Hendersons' help, the harvest proceeded smoothly. Samuel's wheat crop yielded better than expected, bringing a welcome infusion of capital that he immediately reinvested in additional breeding stock and improvements to their water system. Their new house was completed before the first snowfall, a proud achievement they celebrated by hosting a Thanksgiving dinner for friends from Columbus and neighboring ranches. Ellen and Patrick Peterson, now fully recovered, brought wine from their store cellar. Joseph Miller and his wife contributed a smoked ham. Other neighbors arrived with pies, preserves, and side dishes. As Samuel stood at the head of their large oak table, surveying the gathered faces illuminated by lamplight, emotion welled in his chest. "Before we eat," he said, raising his glass, "I want to thank you all for being here. A little more than a year ago, I was a solitary cowboy with nothing but dreams. Now—" His voice caught as he looked at Naomi, radiant with Will in her arms. "Now I have everything a man could want." Naomi's eyes shimmered with answering emotion. "And I want to thank all of you who welcomed a stranger and helped her become part of this community. Without that kindness, I wouldn't be standing here today." The winter of 1880-1881 proved milder than the previous year, allowing for easier travel between the ranch and Columbus. Samuel and Naomi established a monthly tradition of Sunday dinner at the Petersons' newly rebuilt home above the store, maintaining the connection that had become so important to their lives. During one such visit in February, Ellen Peterson shared a proposition that caught Naomi by surprise. "The town council is establishing a proper school," Ellen explained. "We've been using the church, but with more families arriving, we need a dedicated building and a permanent teacher. Several of us suggested your name, Naomi." "Me?" Naomi blinked in surprise. "But I have no formal training." "You mentioned you once dreamed of teaching," Ellen reminded her. "And we've all seen how you helped Patrick organize his accounts, not to mention your work with Emma Henderson on her reading. You have a natural gift." Samuel, bouncing 9-month-old Will on his knee, watched his wife's expression shift from surprise to consideration. "It wouldn't be full-time initially," he suggested. "Perhaps 2 or 3 days a week while the school gets established." The seed planted that day grew in Naomi's mind over the following weeks. Teaching had indeed been her aspiration before circumstances forced her to focus on survival. Now, with their ranch secure and the Hendersons providing reliable help, the possibility seemed within reach. "What do you think?" she asked Samuel one evening as they reviewed their finances. "Could we manage if I taught part-time?" Samuel considered carefully. The Hendersons have proven themselves capable and will enjoy playing with Emma when she's not working. My only concern is the travel 15 miles is a long journey to make several times a week. We could arrange lodging in town for those nights, Naomi suggested. Perhaps a small room above the bank. It would only be for a night or two each week. The practical solution addressed Samuel's concerns, and by spring, arrangements were in place for Naomi to begin teaching when the new schoolhouse opened in September. The position brought not only personal fulfillment, but additional income that they directed toward expanding their operation. As their second summer on the ranch bloomed, Samuel and Naomi found themselves at the center of a growing community. Their success had inspired other families to settle nearby, transforming what had been isolated homesteads into a nascent neighborhood. Sunday gatherings rotated between properties, building connections that would prove vital in the challenging frontier environment. Will took his first steps in July, toddling determinedly across the porch while both parents watched with pride. Stubborn as his mother, Samuel teased as the boy fell, pushed himself up and continued without complaint. Determined as his father, Naomi countered with a smile. Their happiness seemed complete, yet Naomi sensed a restlessness in Samuel as summer waned. He spent long hours riding the boundaries of their property, returning thoughtful and sometimes distracted. "Is something troubling you?" she finally asked one evening as they sat on the porch watching twilight settle over their land. Samuel sighed, reaching for her hand. "Not troubling exactly. I've been thinking about expansion. The Carson property adjoining our northern boundary is available. Old man Carson's moving to Oregon to live with his daughter. More land." Naomi considered the implications. "That would nearly double our holdings." "It's good land," Samuel explained. "Better water access than what we have now, and natural shelters for the cattle during winter storms. With the profit from this year's wheat and calves, we could manage the down payment." Naomi studied his eager expression, recognizing the ambition that had first drawn her to him, a man with vision, who saw possibility where others might see only risk. "You've already spoken to Carson, haven't you?" she guessed. Samuel had the grace to look sheepish. "Just preliminarily. Wanted to know his terms before bringing it to you. We're partners in this, Naomi. If you think it's too much risk." She squeezed his hand. "Show me the figures. If it makes sense, I trust your judgment." The Carson acquisition proceeded smoothly, adding 160 acres to their ranch just as harvest began. The expanded property presented new challenges and opportunities that energized both Samuel and Naomi. They hired an additional hand, Daniel Henderson's friend Robert Walsh, and invested in equipment that would improve their efficiency. September brought the opening of Columbus's new schoolhouse, a simple but sturdy structure with large windows and proper desks for 20 students. Naomi approached her first day of teaching with a combination of excitement and trepidation, carefully planning lessons for children ranging from 6 to 16 years of age. "You'll be wonderful," Samuel assured her, helping load her books and supplies into their wagon. "Those children are fortunate to have you." Will, now 15 months old, protested being left behind with Mary Henderson, but soon settled when distracted by the farm dogs. Samuel drove Naomi to town himself, wanting to see her established in this new role. The school term began successfully, with Naomi quickly earning the respect of both students and parents. Her practical approach to education, combining traditional subjects with skills relevant to frontier life, proved particularly effective. She taught reading through adventure stories, mathematics through practical problems of ranching and farming, and history by connecting it to their present circumstances. Samuel found himself increasingly proud of his wife's accomplishments. watching as she balanced her roles as teacher, mother, and partner in their ranch with remarkable grace. Their arrangement with Naomi staying in Columbus 2 nights each week worked better than expected, though both treasured their reunions. "The house feels empty without you," Samuel confessed one Friday evening as Naomi returned from town, "even with Will chattering constantly." "I miss you both terribly," she admitted, settling into his embrace. "But this work feels important, Samuel. These children deserve every advantage we can give them." As winter approached once more, their expanded ranch faced new tests. Early November brought a devastating illness to their cattle, a respiratory infection that spread rapidly through the herd. Samuel worked tirelessly alongside the Hendersons and Robert Walsh to isolate affected animals and treat them with remedies suggested by more experienced ranchers. Despite their efforts, they lost 11 head, including one of their best breeding bulls. The financial setback was significant but not catastrophic, thanks to their diversified operation. Naomi's teaching income and their successful wheat harvest provided stability while the herd recovered. "We'll rebuild," Samuel assured her as they tallied the losses. "It's a setback, not a defeat." Naomi nodded, appreciating his resilience. "This is why we planned carefully. One bad season doesn't ruin us." Their third Christmas on the ranch arrived with festive preparation, despite the recent challenges. Naomi decorated their home with pine boughs and red ribbons, while Samuel surprised her with a piano purchased in Helena during a cattle selling trip. Though neither played well, the instrument brought music into their home, with Naomi teaching Will simple tunes as he sat beside her on the bench. The holiday gathering they hosted that year reflected their central place in the community. 24 guests crowded around extended tables in their main room, sharing food, stories, and companionship. Will, now old enough to appreciate the excitement, charmed everyone with his attempts to sing the Christmas carols Naomi had taught him. As midnight approached and the last guests departed, Samuel and Naomi stood in the doorway of their home, watching snowflakes drift through the lantern light. "I have one more gift for you," Naomi said softly, taking Samuel's hand and placing it gently against her abdomen. Expected to arrive next summer, joy flooded Samuel's face as he gathered her close. "Another child. You're certain?" Dr. Harper confirmed it yesterday, she nodded. "Will's going to be a big brother." The news of their expanding family added sweetness to the winter months. Samuel redoubled his efforts to ensure their ranch's prosperity, while Naomi continued teaching while preparing for the baby. They converted a small room adjacent to their bedroom into a nursery, with Samuel crafting a second cradle to match Will's. Spring arrived with welcome warmth and the promise of new beginnings. The cattle herd recovered from the previous fall's illness, new calves strengthened their numbers, and the fields Samuel planted promised abundant harvests. Naomi's advancing pregnancy didn't slow her activities, though she reluctantly agreed to suspend teaching for the final months before delivery. Their daughter, Elizabeth Ellen Granger, was born on a perfect June morning in 1882, with Dr. Harper attending and Ellen Peterson assisting. The birth proceeded smoothly, with none of the drama that had accompanied Will's arrival. Samuel held his son as they first met the new addition to their family, a delicate girl with Naomi's honey-brown hair and curious green eyes. "She's beautiful," Will pronounced seriously, studying his sister with intent concentration. "I protect her." "Yes, you will," Samuel agreed, his heart expanding to embrace this new life they'd created. "That's what big brothers do." With 2 children under 3 years old, Naomi and Samuel found themselves adapting once more to changed circumstances. Mary Henderson proved invaluable, helping care for the children when ranch duties demanded both parents' attention. The arrangement benefited everyone. Mary enjoyed the children, Will and Elizabeth received loving care, and the ranch operations continued smoothly. As summer progressed, Samuel implemented innovations that improved their productivity. He constructed irrigation channels based on designs he'd studied in agricultural journals, installed a windmill to pump water to distant pastures, and experimented with new seed varieties recommended by the Territorial Agricultural Office. Naomi, recovering quickly from Elizabeth's birth, resumed her role in ranch management with characteristic efficiency. She maintained meticulous records, identifying which aspects of their operation proved most profitable and where adjustments were needed. Her teaching position remained open, with the school board eager for her return when Elizabeth was older. Their 4th anniversary found them more prosperous than either had imagined possible when they wed. The Granger Ranch, as it was now known throughout the county, had developed a reputation for quality livestock and progressive farming techniques. Samuel received inquiries from as far away as Oregon about his breeding stock, while Naomi's organizational systems were studied by other ranchers seeking to improve their operations. "Did you ever imagine this?" Samuel asked as they walked their property one golden autumn evening, Will running ahead while Elizabeth slept against Naomi's shoulder. "When I found you under that tree, did you think we'd build all this together?" Naomi considered the question seriously. "I hoped for survival then. A chance to start over. But this," she gestured toward their thriving ranch, their home, their children, "this exceeds even my most optimistic dreams." "Mine too," Samuel admitted. "I wanted land and independence, never knew I needed a partner until I found you." As they watched the sunset paint their world in amber and gold, Samuel reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a chance encounter born of crisis to the deep partnership they now shared, every step had strengthened their bond. Naomi had indeed become his strength, her resilience inspiring him, her practical wisdom grounding his ambitions, her love sustaining him through challenges. And he had become her freedom, helping create the secure foundation she'd lost with her father's death. Together, they'd built not just a ranch but a life rich with purpose and connection. The path forward would bring new challenges: harsh winters, market fluctuations, the natural disasters that tested all who worked the land. Their children would grow, requiring different kinds of guidance and support. The community around them would continue to evolve as the territory moved toward statehood. Yet as night settled over the Montana landscape, Samuel and Naomi Granger faced the future with confidence born of proven partnership. Whatever came next, they would meet it together, he providing the freedom to pursue their dreams, she offering the strength to overcome obstacles. "We should head back," Naomi suggested as stars began appearing above them. "It's getting chilly." Samuel nodded, lifting a tired Will onto his shoulders. As they walked toward the welcoming lights of their home, he silently thanked whatever fate or providence had led him to that fallen tree 4 years earlier. In saving Naomi Sutton, he had found his own salvation, and together, they had created a legacy that would endure long after they were gone.